Welcome to Damn Good Movie Memories with your host, Brian Davis. This podcast is the cure for your long commute and super boring workday.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and Richard Farnsworth as Red. The Natural.
Hey there, it's Brian Davis, and for this week's episode, we're going to cover the movie The Natural from 1984. The studio was TriStar Pictures. Release date was May 11th, 1984. The running time, 138 minutes, and it was rated PG. The budget was $28 million, and the box office took in $48 million, making it the 14th ranked movie of 1984. Roger Ebert at the time gave it 2 out of 4 stars. Here's his review. Why didn't they make a baseball picture? Why did The Natural have to be turned into idolatry on behalf of Robert Redford? Why did a perfectly good story filled with interesting people have to be made into one man's ascension to the godlike, especially when no effort is made to give that ascension meaning? And were the most important people in the God-man's life kept mostly off screen so they wouldn't upstage him? Redford has been placed so firmly in the foreground that the prime consideration is to show him in a noble light. The people in his life, baseball players, mistresses, gamblers, crooks, sports writers, seem grateful to share the frame with him. In case we missed the point, Redford is consistently backlit to turn his golden hair into a saintly halo. The Natural could have been a decent movie. One reason that it is not, of all its characters, the only one we don't want to know more about is Roy Hobbs. I'd love to get to know Pop Fisher, played by Wilford Brimley, the cynical old team manager. Robert Duvall as the evil sports writer Max Mercy has had his part cut so badly that we only know he's evil because he practically tells us. Richard Farnsworth as the kindly coach has a smile that's more genuine than anything else in the movie, but you'll have to look quick. As for the baseball, the movie isn't even subtle. When a team is losing, it makes little league errors. When it's winning, the hits are so accurate they even smash the bad guys' windows. There's not a second of real baseball strategy in the whole film. The message is, baseball is purely and simply a matter of divine intervention. At about the 130-minute mark, I got the idea that God's only begotten son was playing right field for the New York team. And that's the end of Ebert's review. Now, I will say that most of the time I agree with Ebert's reviews. In the case of The Natural, I couldn't disagree more. Ebert, whether he realized it or not, wanted an exact adaptation of the 1952 novel that this film was based on. That, I believe, would have pleased him immensely. It would have also made The Natural irrelevant and forgotten as quickly as it was released in the spring of 1984. We'll get into those reasons why throughout this episode. All right, let's get into the making of the film. So again, The Natural is based on the novel of the same name written by Bernard Malamud in 1952. It was Malamud's first published novel after 20 years of trying to be published. The tone of the book is much more dark and bleak compared to the inspirational nature of the film. For comparison, the ending of the novel is completely different than the film, and if you've seen the film, you'll understand what I mean. And in my opinion, if the film was a completely faithful adaptation of the novel, the film wouldn't be considered an American classic as it is today. So because of the dark nature of the book, it would be over 20 years before a film adaptation of The Natural was even considered. The first person to work on the adaptation wasn't a film screenwriter, but an advertising executive named Phil Dusenberry, who was looking to delve into the film business. He received a call from 2 film producers whom he'd worked with who had bought the rights to the novel and asked Dusenberry if he'd be interested in taking a shot at writing a screenplay adaptation of the novel. Dusenberry actually met with Malamud before writing the screenplay and recalls a funny memory where Malamud told the young screenwriter that no matter what happens, he would never read the screenplay or watch the film if it was ever made. Now, Malamud wasn't rude about this, but he understood the film business, and I do get it. Most novel adaptations are rarely faithful to the original books because, they're just different mediums. In the case of The Natural, a faithful rendering just wouldn't work well in my opinion. However, Malamud did end up seeing the film, according to his daughter, and according to his daughter, her father turned to her mother after seeing the film and says, "Now I'm an American writer." Dusenberry took 6 months off his regular job to write the first draft of The Natural. However, nothing really came of this draft and was put on the shelf likely never to be imagined. But in 1979, another aspiring screenwriter named Roger Town was working for Robert Evans Productions and was handed a book to consider adapting. It was The Natural. Town then contacted Dusenberry about rewriting that first script that Dusenberry had taken a shot at. But at that time, Dusenberry was incredibly busy with his advertising work and didn't have the time to dedicate to the script revision, though he and Town did keep in touch. For 2 years, nothing came of the revision. And finally, Town just decided to rewrite the first draft himself, worrying that the film would never get made if he didn't. Town wrote 2 drafts before passing it along to some of his contacts. At the time, Robert Redford was notorious for basically saying no to almost all scripts. Redford, by the 1980s, was already a film legend and really could pick and choose whatever novels he wanted. As a matter of fact, in the decade of the 1980s, Redford only appeared in 4 movies and directed 2 of them. He acted in Brubaker, The Natural, Out of Africa, and Legal Eagles, and he directed Ordinary People and The Milagro Beanfield War. Regarding The Natural, Redford was almost instantly interested after reading the script. Once he was on board, the film was off and running. Redford loved that The Natural dealt with the mythology of baseball. To me, this is why baseball lends itself to being the most easily adaptable sports to make a movie about. There's something timeless about baseball with its rich history that simply does not exist with other sports. So even with Redford on board, the common belief by movie studios was that baseball movies, and frankly sports movies in general, just didn't make money. It was thought that Redford himself would direct the film as he had great success with Ordinary People. But after directing Ordinary People, Redford decided to take some time off, and he started the Sundance Film Festival, which ended up being one of the most successful independent film festivals ever created. In any case, things started to progress further once director Barry Levinson was tabbed as the director and Redford decided to just focus on acting in the film. Levinson had only directed 1 film prior to The Natural, and that was 1982's comedy Diner, but he had co-written 3 screenplays in the 1970s, Silent Movie and High Anxiety, which were Mel Brooks' films, and the terrific And Justice for All, starring Al Pacino. We also covered one of Levinson's most successful films, Rain Man, and that was on episode 382. Check it out. Both Redford and Levinson loved baseball, and the two bonded on their shared vision of the game and what The Natural could be. The studio that decided to take on the film was brand new at the time, which was TriStar Pictures. What's funny is to this day, one of my earliest memories of watching The Natural on VHS in the mid-1980s was the unicorn jumping over the title cards with the theme playing. As it turns out, The Natural would be the second film made by TriStar. The next was actually another early childhood favorite of mine, The Muppets Take Manhattan. Interestingly enough, on a personal note, when my mom took me to see The Muppets Take Manhattan at the movie theater, my dad instead decided to skip The Muppets and went to see The Natural instead. I still remember that to this day. It was at the Fashion Island Theater in Foster City, which is no longer there. So one of the controversial parts of making this film had to do with changing the original ending from the novel. Everyone involved with the film, be it the screenwriters, Redford, and Levinson, all agreed that the different ending, which everyone knows from the film now, was the right choice. But they were worried at the time that the super fans of the original novel would crucify them. But I think history has proven those naysayers wrong. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure even many modern audiences realize that The Natural was based on a novel in the first place. For casting, Levinson used the same casting director he had for Diner, Ellen Chenoweth. Chenoweth said that there were so many meaty character roles that it was quite intimidating to fill all those roles with great actors. Now, Redford was the top bankable star, but the supporting cast, as you already know, is what makes The Natural a classic. Glenn Close was the first person Levinson thought of for the role of Iris. But keep in mind, she was still very early on in her film career and only had 2 film credits. It was The World According to Garp and The Big Chill. Close had actually agreed to do another film at the time, but she couldn't pass up working with Robert Redford and decided against the other film. That was a wise choice. Kim Basinger, like Close, was still very early on in her career, with her best-known role playing a Bond girl in the off-cycle James Bond film Never Say Never Again in 1983, which marked Sean Connery's return and final performance as Bond. Redford said of Basinger that he liked her almost Marilyn Monroe-style quality that she had in her acting. Of all the main actresses, the most veteran of the group was Barbara Hershey, who had been in the business since the late 1960s. She had kind of this beautiful but dark vibe that was necessary for the character of Harriet Byrd. Now, speaking of veteran actors, one of the strongest actors of all time is Robert Duvall, and for him to play the sleazy sports writer Max Mercy, that was a huge get for the filmmakers at the time. And it took some persuading to get Duvall to be in the film, because actually he was a leading star himself. He had just won a Best Actor Oscar for Tender Mercies. But Duvall understood the importance of the Max Mercy role, even if it was a supporting role, and he agreed to be part of the film. Now, for the managers of the team, you needed a pair that just worked naturally, and you couldn't get 2 more perfect actors for those roles than Wilford Brimley and Richard Farnsworth. They just were those characters of Pop and Red. The same could be said for Robert Prosky, who played the evil judge, whom Levinson knew from his work on Broadway and knew he'd be perfect for the role. And who could forget Joe Don Baker playing the Whammer, as he might be the best and most accurate portrayal of the Babe Ruth type of character than any other actor throughout film history, as it turned out. Sorry, John Goodman. Lastly, the great Darren McGavin plays the sleazy bookie Gus Sands. For me, McGavin will always be remembered as Ralphie's old man in the classic holiday film A Christmas Story, but McGavin had been around for decades on film and TV. Now, the Gus character was the last major character to be cast. Unfortunately, because Gavin was cast late to the film, his billing was lower than he was used to. This actually led to some tension, because in Hollywood, especially in the earlier eras, casting was vital to how you were paid for subsequent film roles. McGavin finally decided to not be billed on the film and is actually uncredited, which kind of seems crazy now. Now, the key to any sports movie is getting actors who can actually play the sport they are portraying. If you remember how bad some of the early sports movies were with films like Fear Strikes Out, with one of the worst portrayals of a baseball player as Anthony Perkins playing Jimmy Pearsall, it's downright embarrassing. The same thing with the Babe Ruth story and William Bendix. Therefore, it was key to Levinson and Redford to round out the teams with actors that could actually play baseball. Many of the players ended up being ex-minor leaguers, which is why the gameplay of The Natural looks pretty authentic. It also didn't hurt that Redford himself seemed like a natural athlete, pardon the pun, because he had a great swing and throwing motion. There are some great outtakes on the DVD where you actually can see Redford hitting for real. He's a legit player. He was kind of like Kevin Costner before Kevin Costner. Now, to film the games, a stadium was needed, of course. Redford wanted Fenway Park, but of course, that wasn't available. The other challenge was, in the 1980s, many baseball parks were being retrofitted with AstroTurf instead of natural grass. And if you're doing a baseball movie that takes place in 1939, you absolutely had to have a natural grass surface. And this is why War Memorial Stadium in Buffalo was picked, because it still had the same look and feel as a stadium would in 1939. To take The Natural over the top, and what many say, and I'm one of those people, that sets the film apart is the musical score. Just like Bill Conti did with the original Rocky film in 1976, Randy Newman does the same with The Natural. Without Newman's score, The Natural would be a good film, but not an all-time classic. That emotion the viewer gets from his score is second to none. Newman was actually Levinson's choice, but it wasn't an obvious choice to the producers because Newman wasn't known for his movie score work. He was known for his offbeat, eccentric songs that on the albums he had been making since the 1970s. I mean, who could forget the song Short People from 1977? The Baltimore will always be my favorite song of his. Newman had actually composed 2 films prior to The Natural, 1971's Cold Turkey with Dick Van Dyke and 1981's Ragtime. Newman says it was intimidating at first to try to compose for The Natural because it called for something different than he had done in the past. But boy, did he nail it. How he didn't win an Oscar for his score, I think is a travesty. Fuck A Passage to India. I haven't seen it, but it shouldn't have beaten the score. It shouldn't have beat The Natural for best score. All right, let's get into the film. So it opens with Roy Hobbs, that's Robert Redford, sitting alone at a train station waiting for his train. The year is 1939. We then go back to when Roy was a young boy playing catch with his father in the cornfields in Nebraska. Roy is taught by his father how to pitch and has the natural ability to throw hard and with movement, as his natural gift of being a left-handed pitcher gives him that particular movement. Roy also has an admirer, his friend and neighbor Iris, who watches Roy practice with his dad. One day while working on his property, Roy's dad has a sudden heart attack and dies under the large tree outside of their home. Roy witnesses the whole thing, and later that night a lightning storm strikes the tree where his father died and cuts it in half. Roy uses the splintered wood from the tree to make a baseball bat, which he calls Wonder Boy, and burns a lightning bolt into the finished bat. It's early on in the film that Randy Newman's amazing score kind of works its magic. Each time a vital scene occurs in the film, it's accentuated with Newman's score, such as the build-up when the tree is hit by the bolt of lightning. When Roy turns 19, he receives an offer from the Chicago Cubs for a tryout with the team in Chicago. By now, he's in a relationship with Iris. He leaves Iris in Nebraska with full intention of making the team and then continuing his relationship with her. And there's also a very brief and subtle moment that Roy has with Iris that many people might miss. However, this moment will come into play much later in the film. Roy takes his train to Chicago and meets up with a scout named Sam, played by John Finnegan. Also on the train is a woman named Harriet, played by Barbara Hershey, along with one of the top sluggers in baseball at the time, nicknamed the Whammer, played by Joe Don Baker. The Whammer, of course, is inspired by the legendary Babe Ruth. The Whammer is traveling with a sports writer named Max Mercy, played by Robert Duvall. Max reads a newspaper story about how a mysterious woman shot an Olympic athlete just a day after killing a football star. In each case, a silver bullet was used. On the train, Sam tries to introduce Roy to Max and the Whammer, but neither can be bothered, and Max is particularly rude to Roy and just blows him off. The Whammer is actually much more interested in making eyes at Harriet. So the train stops at a local carnival, and the Whammer is impressing the locals in the batting cage, while Roy impresses a smaller crowd by knocking over a stack of milk bottles. A particularly interested Harriet asks Max if the Whammer is the best, and Max says of course he's the best now and ever will be. Eventually the two forces meet, and a challenge is made by Sam, who says that Roy can strike out the Whammer on 3 pitches. Now, the audacity by Sam is too much for Max, that a no-name pitching prospect could even strike out the greatest hitter in baseball. However, this begins the legend of Roy Hobbs, and is one of my favorite scenes of the film, and is just beautifully shot.
I wish you hadn't bet that money, Sam. And come by it hard.
Hey, I wouldn't have made that bet if I didn't believe in you, son, right? So come on. Here. Do this one what Roy Hobbs was all about. Right down his throat.
Let's go, batter up, come on.
Keep your shirt on, Max. Keep your shirt on.
Batter up, let's go. Play ball. I'll be down there.
Oh, man.
Throw it in here, plowboy. You don't get no ladder.
All right, Roy, chuck it down his whammy. Come on, boy. All right, chuck it down here.
Close your trap, Rump.
Burn it by him. Give him a shave with it.
Strike one.
Wait a minute.
You okay, Sam?
It's all right, Roy. This damn glove.
Max, how the hell are you going to call him from way back there?
He looks wild to me.
Them your knees are here shaking, Max?
Mind your business, Red Nose, and play ball.
Throw it in here, Greenhorn.
All right, do it again, Roy. Come on, boy. Do it again.
Strike two.
Bunch of throwing spitballs.
Now, pig's poop. That ball's as dry as your granddaddy's scalp.
Well, you better not be trying any funny business out there. Rump pot.
You watch your mouth, mister.
Forget that.
Prove it in here, son.
Okay, this one's it, Climber. This is
This is it.
Don't let me down.
Don't let up. Right. One more, boy.
Let's go.
Come on, Roy. High five, baby. Punch him out now. Yes, we go. Victory! You're out.
Now, there are two wonderfully awesome things about the last clip, neither of which have audio. So that little skip that Roy does while smacking his fist into his other palm, it's just brilliant. There's no jumping around like today's athlete, just a subtle, I knew I could do it, was all he needed. And then how Harriet had her eyes on the whammer the entire at-bat, and then slowly shifts her gaze to Roy. And that's a precursor of things to come that will forever change Roy's life. Because Max witnessed the whole contest, he intends on making Roy an instant star. This also leads to Harriet showing interest in Roy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right on time. Coming from Chicago. How you doing?
Hello. I'm Harriet Bird.
It'll be in 110 pages coast to coast, all right? Now, I want to do a little background on your boy.
Not now, Max. Maybe in the morning.
Why?
I'm not feeling well. Oh, well, listen, bring that soap up, Yomi, huh?
Okay, we'll have breakfast on me, okay? And I can do wonders for that boy, you know, if you let me. Rummy.
Everyone thought he would murder you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way everyone rallied around you. They'll be talking about today for years to come. It was just like watching Sir Lancelot jousting Sir Turquoise. Or was it Maldemar? I'm not sure. Have you ever read Homer?
Homer? Well, only Homer I know has 4 bases in it.
Homer lived ages ago and wrote about heroes and gods.
Oh.
And he would have had it in mind to write about baseball had he seen you out there today.
You know what, someday? I'm gonna break every record in the book. I know I got it in me.
And what will you hope to accomplish?
When I walk down the street, people look at me and say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
Is that all?
Well, what else is there?
Don't you know? Isn't there something more?
More?
More glorious? Do you have a girl? I'm gonna say goodnight now.
Harriet, would you come watch me play sometime?
Oh, Roy, you are priceless.
Or will you?
Of course.
Roy makes it to Chicago and heads to the hotel and receives a call from Harriet that she's staying at his hotel. Roy goes to her room and she is dressed in black and her face is covered with a veil, like she's attending a funeral.
The door's open.
Hello? How did you know I was staying at this hotel? What's going on here?
Roy, will you be the best there ever was in the game?
That's right.
Roy is shot in the stomach and left for dead. Harriet then commits suicide by jumping out the window. Harriet, as you might have guessed, was the serial killer of athletes that Max was talking about on the train earlier in the film. And, without even realizing it, by Roy striking out the whammer in the contest, Roy sealed his fate because Harriet would have tried to kill the whammer instead. So that last scene is the most intriguing connection to real life in the film. In 1949, Philadelphia Phillies first baseman Eddie Waitkiss was shot by an obsessed fan named Ruth Ann Steinhagen when he was staying at a hotel in Chicago during the season. The obsession of Steinhagen began when Waitkiss was a player for the Chicago Cubs for 3 seasons prior to being traded to the Phillies. Waitkiss did lose 3 years of some playing time due to serving in World War II. He was actually the Rookie of the Year in 1946. Some sports writers even called him the Natural at the time. When Waitkiss was traded to the Phillies, Steinhagen snapped because she wouldn't be able to follow him like before when he played in the city she lived in. Steinhagen truly believed she was in a relationship with Waitkiss, even setting the dinner table with a place for Waitkiss's spot. And just like in the film, Steinhagen sent a message to Waitkiss to come to her hotel room on an urgent matter. Steinhagen signed the note as Ruth Ann Burns, which is important because Waitkiss knew a woman from high school with the same name, which is why Steinhagen actually chose the name after looking through his yearbook. It is then when Steinhagen shot Waitkiss in the lung, nearly missing his heart. The original plan of Steinhagen was to stab Waitkiss and then shoot herself. So instead of killing herself like Harriet did in the film, Steinhagen called the front desk to report the shooting, and Waitkiss was taken to the hospital and eventually recovered and resumed his baseball career in 1950, though he was near death at times during his recovery. Steinhagen never went to prison or even had a trial, which is crazy, but likely because he wasn't killed. But she did have an arraignment from a grand jury. However, the judge declared her insane, and she was put into a mental institution for a few years after the shooting. Waitkiss said the ultimate irony was surviving 3 years and never being shot overseas during the war, and then returning home and being shot by a teenage girl. All right, so let's go back to the movie. We then fast forward 16 years later in the time period of the beginning of the film. We are taken to the home stadium of the New York Knights, a struggling team who just signed Roy Hobbs. They are managed and co-owned by Pop Fisher, that's Wilford Brimley, and his assistant manager, Red, played by Richard Farnsworth. The Knights are terrible, and Pop is the definition of a cantankerous old baseball manager.
Look at this, Red. He's walking the whole ballpark, and he's the best pitcher we got. I should have been a farmer. Since the day I was born, I should have been a farmer. I love chickens, pigs, ducks. Kind of fond of nanny goats, I am. Oh, come on, Fowler! Throw strikes!
Fowler's killing worms, Pop.
Hey, Fowler, don't you know how I hate losing to the Pirates?
You know, Red, my ma urged me to get out of this game when I was a kid. She pleaded with me. And I meant to, you know what I mean? But she died.
Tough.
Now look at me. I'm wet nurse to a last place, dead to the neck up ball club, and I'm choking to death. Wouldn't you think that I could get a fresh drink of water after all the years I spent in this game? Red, did you talk to that bastard partner of mine about the drinking fountain?
Well, the judge said he's working on it, Pop.
Working on it? Son of a bitch.
All right, pick it up now. Oh!
You know, the day that snake walked into this ballpark, one of the darkest days of my life, Red. What do we got here, Red? The Salvation Army Band?
Pop Fisher?
Who wants to know?
I'm Roy Hobbs, your new right fielder.
My what?
It's right here.
Scotty Carson sent you here?
That's right.
Must be nuts. Where do they find these guys, Red? Fella, you don't start playing ball at your age, you retire. Where do they find you?
The Heber Oilers.
The Heber Oilers? I never heard of them.
They're semi-pro.
Semi-pro. Schultz, go warm up. Did you ever play organized ball in your life?
I just got back in the game.
What does that mean?
I used to play in high school.
Excuse me?
I used to play in high school.
Freddie used to play in high school. That's nice. Scotty Carson signs him up. The judge okays the deal. Ain't talked to me yet. I got that in my deal for as long as I live. They gotta talk to me.
They got a contract.
I want to see it. Oh, come on, Hinkle! $500 they give this guy to play with us. This ain't legal.
Is Carson your chief scout?
Yeah, so what if
He said he had the authority to sign me.
Yeah, well, he don't have.
Let me talk to you just a minute. He has, Pop. You said so yourself if you ever found anybody decent.
I know, Red, but look at this guy. We don't need no middle-aged rookies.
Well, we sure need somebody.
Hey, fella. All right, you come at a bad time. Like Red says, Scotty Carson's seen something in you. Go find Dr. Dizzy and suit up. Red, I should have been a farmer.
But what fun would have that been, Bob? As you just heard, Roy is no longer a pitcher and has transitioned into being an everyday player. Now keep in mind, before 1973, pitchers also used to hit in both leagues. So even though Roy started as a pitcher, he still had to hone his skills as a hitter. And those that know their baseball history will remember that one of the greatest hitters of all time, Babe Ruth, began his career as a pitcher. And today, everyone knows Shohei Ohtani, but he's rare, and that's why him and Babe Ruth are arguably the two of the greatest players of all time. In the locker room, we meet the lackadaisical diva Bump Bailey, played by Michael Madsen, who is the current starting right fielder. Roy also runs into Max Mercy. Max doesn't quite remember Roy completely, but part of him seems to recall knowing him from his past. Now, Roy definitely remembers Max. The rest of the guys on the team aren't impressed with the signing of a middle-aged rookie. Roy goes to the team hotel. In the elevator, he runs into a woman named Memo, played by Kim Basinger. She's dating Bump Bailey and also the niece of Pop. Roy grabs a bite to eat with Red.
Hi, honey. You together?
No, I'm meeting Bump.
Oh. My niece, Memo Paris, Roy Hobbs. He's a new player.
How do you do?
Hello. What position do you play?
He just started today.
Right field.
Right? That's Bump's position, is that, Bob?
I tell you, Mr. Hobbs is brand new, and we're not sure what we're going to do with him. Come on, sweetie, I'll walk you to a cab.
Bye.
Bye.
Anything wrong?
No, just not used to hotels.
Let's go. How long were you with the Oilers?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And before that?
Just knocked around from here to there.
You don't mind me asking these questions, do you? I read Scotty's report on you. Said you're one hell of a hitter. How come you didn't start playing when he was a little younger?
I did play when I was young.
Got your food already. Ready. But you gave it up.
Sort of. But my mind was always on the game. So I figured to give it another try.
Uh-huh. Just like that.
Just like that.
Where are you from?
Doesn't matter.
Do you always talk this way about yourself?
Do I know her?
Well, let me tell you something about Pop. He gave his heart and soul to the game, only to get it trampled on. I'd give him my right arm to get him the pennant.
Red, it took me 16 years to get here. You play me, and you'll get the best I got.
I believe you. Pretty good food, huh?
It's damn good.
You can't spell it, but it eats pretty good, don't it?
Now, Roy is intentionally vague about his past, and with good reason. And we never really do learn much about the 16 years of his life from the time he was shot by Harriet until his reappearance and signing by the New York Knights. And frankly, I've always liked that time period was always a mystery, kind of up to the viewer to decide what Roy did for those years. Now, if the film was made today, the film would be 3.5 hours because that chunk would need to be explained. Sometimes less is more. Even though Roy is convinced he can help the team, Pop isn't, and he refuses to let Roy play. He even refuses to let him participate in batting practice. For game after game, Roy rots away on the bench while the team continues to lose. This leads to a funny montage where the team psychologist tries to help the team in the locker room by informing them that losing is a disease.
Relieve you from the fears and anxieties which are so inherently symptomatic of a losing team.
Sorry, Doc, I had a little,
The mind is a strange thing, and you must begin by asking it, what is losing? Losing is a disease, as contagious as polio. Losing is a disease, as contagious as syphilis. Losing is a disease, as contagious as bubonic plague, attacking one but infecting all. But curable. Now, I want you to imagine you are on a ship at sea, on a vast,
Hobbs, you want to sit back down there and pay attention?
Gently rocking.
Hobbs, get back in here!
Gently rocking. Gently rocking. Gently rocking.
Roy finally had enough and storms out of the locker room. Things finally come to a head in the next game.
Hobbs. I'm sending you down, Hobbs. Class B ball. Tomorrow morning you go to the Great Lakes Association.
Okay, you make the rules?
That's right. That's right. And you ain't been playing by him. All these other guys play by him. Don't you remember signing a contract?
Yeah, I remember signing a contract to play ball, not to be put to sleep by some two-bit carny hypnotist. I won't do that.
You're going down.
It took me a long time to get here, Pop. I won't do it. I can't. I came here to play ball.
Hobbs, come back here! Batting practice tomorrow. Be there.
I have been. Every day.
that ball, big guy.
Again, Bumps.
Give me that bat. Yeah, there it is.
You all squared away?
Yeah.
All right. Get in the cage. See what you can do. Get out of there, Bump.
Go, Ollie, go.
Easy on him there, fella.
Bear down on him.
Try this one, Grandpa.
Yeah. Roy! Come here.
Hey, hustle it up.
Let me see that bat.
Not bad, kid.
Where'd you get this?
I made it myself from a tree near home.
Wonder Boy. You put that on there? What does it mean?
I made it a long time ago when I was a kid. I wanted it to be a very special bat.
How about this lightning bolt?
The tree that I made it from was split open by lightning.
Don't figure this. All those years and you never played organized baseball?
Well, I sort of got sidetracked.
Red, measure that, weigh it. If it comes up to specifications, we'll let you use it.
Come on, double him up.
Now go on out there and shag some fun.
Better late than never, Pop.
Red, this is practice. We'll see.
Ain't that right? Well, Roy finally gets a shot as a pinch hitter the next game after another lackadaisical play by Bump.
Come on, Hobbs. You're up. All right, Hobbs, knock the cover off the ball.
Well, here's a surprise. Pop Fisher's going to replace Bump Bailey with number 9. Number 9 is Roy Hobbs. Hobbs was brought up in mid-season. Don't know too much about him. We'll try to find out something for you. Apparently, Fisher is very upset with Bump Bailey. Bailey, of course, messed up that play out in center field with Bivens. 2 runs came in. That made the Phillies 4-3. And the Knights had a nice 3-2 lead and trying to get themselves out of this terrible losing streak. McBride's going to look in against Hobbs right now. He's going to check Bivens at first base. Baker leading off at second base right now. And here comes the pitch. Strike one! Fastball inside corner, strike 1. Hobbs didn't like the call. Well, welcome to the majors, Mr. Hobbs. McBride gave him a good, strong fastball in the inside corner.
Hey, let me see the ball.
about all that junk? The ball.
That junk is the ball, Augie.
That's a ball?
Jesus,
He shot it to pieces. That's no ball. We want a real ball.
And yes, Roy literally did knock the cover off the ball. So while the ball was a mangled mess, Roy slides into third base with a triple. Again, Randy Newman's score is perfect and makes the entire scene even more powerful. Also, having the lightning, then a rainstorm, was prophetic to Roy's Wonder Boy image. What's great about The Natural is the touches of actual events that really occurred throughout history. Like the Wonder Boy bat that Roy uses is inspired by Shoeless Joe Jackson's bat he used to call Black Betsy. If you didn't know, Jackson was one of the best hitters in baseball during the early 20th century for the Chicago White Sox. However, he will forever be known as part of the Black Sox scandal in 1919, where many of the players were accused and later banned from baseball for throwing the series for money. This bribery scandal is similar to the tactics the Judge in The Natural uses to bribe members of the New York Knights. I would say check out the terrific 1988 film 8 Men Out if you want to learn more about the 1919 White Sox. Sports reporters immediately want to know more about Roy. In addition, the mysterious judge, Robert Prosky, wants to know from his lead scout about why he signed Roy. Well, it turns out the scout signed Roy on purpose because he was a nobody and far too old to be any use to the team. As it turns out, the judge is a minority owner of the Knights. He wants the Knights to lose because if the team doesn't win the pennant, he will receive full ownership of the team and Pop will be cut out completely. However, if the Knights do win the pennant, Pop can buy back his shares of the team for full ownership. And if you're not hip with baseball lingo, if a team wins the pennant, it means they won their individual league, American or National, and has the right to play in the World Series. Winning the championship means the team won the World Series. Bobby Savoy, the Knights' bat boy, approaches Roy in the locker room after the game and asks Roy if he can make a bat just like Roy's. Roy is kind to Bobby and tells him to go to the lumber yard and pick out a good piece of wood, and they would make the bat together. This is yet another example of foreshadowing for a key scene later in the film. We then meet the grown-up Iris, played by Glenn Close, who is now living in Chicago. She is stunned to read the article about Roy knocking the cover off the ball for the Knights. We then go back to New York, and Pop gives Bump one more shot to shape up and improve his play, or he's going to the bench, and Roy is going to be the starting right fielder. The next game, Bump does improve his effort, but it proves to be fatal.
Top of the seventh right now. Knights leading Boston 6-3. Bump Bailey's having a terrific afternoon. He's 2 for 2 and made a great catch off the right field wall. Bump Bailey at the top of his game.
Looks like your little talk with Bumps is paying off.
I gotta believe you're right.
For the sign. Fowler been extremely strong today. Very good control. Abel is taking a slight lead off to second base. Fowler begins to try to move him back. Here comes the pitch. Fastball swung on. Long fly ball out there. Bailey going way back for it. This ball is hit real deep. Bailey looks up. He hits off the ball. The ball rolls free. Bailey went through the wall, folks. He went through the wall. There's no movement at all out there. I think Bailey's been hurt. He's certainly down. Bailey looks like he's seriously hurt.
In a stirring ceremony at Knights Field, star right fielder Bump Bailey's ashes were dropped from a biplane as fans and ball players stood and paid their last respects. Bump Bailey died after crashing headfirst into the right field wall in pursuit of a fly ball. A great catch that almost was. Rest in peace, Bump Bailey. Baseball will miss you.
Well, sucks for Bump, but he was a prick anyway. The death of Bump Bailey when he crashes through the outfield wall chasing the fly ball was based on actually Brooklyn Dodgers outfielder Pistol Pete Reiser, who would give an all-out effort on every defensive play. He never died from a play, but he once fractured his skull running into a fence and was temporarily paralyzed on another defensive play. Anyway, it's time for Roy now to be a permanent fixture of the Knights lineup.
Stepping up to bat right now. As you remember, just the other day, Roy Hobbs knocked the cover off the ball. That's right, knocked the cover off the ball. So he certainly had an auspicious beginning. Hobbs hitting from the left side, looking in right now. Hobbs in the stance right now. Here comes the pitch. He swings. Long fly ball. Way back. Way up into the rafters there. An unbelievable hit from Roy Hobbs. Incredible power. What a hit as I've seen all year. Hobbs rounds the bases. Roy Hobbs 2 for 2. Maybe we can expect some good things from Roy Hobbs.
You've never seen Hobbs before in your life before he came here.
No, I already told you that. What do you got in your mind?
Yeah, that's it down.
Strange.
What are you doing after the game?
Roy, you were really throwing that lumber around out there today.
Yeah, we broke a few windows, didn't we?
Good. You know, there's not a mark on it, not a nick.
I boned it so it wouldn't chip.
You know what I like? I like this lightning bolt. When I was a kid, my father gave me his collection of squadron insignias, the kind flying aces used to wear. Reminds me of that.
Nice, fellas.
Nice game, guys.
Yeah. Hey, wait up. You want to get something to eat?
I'll see you
Sure.
guys tomorrow. Hey, Olson, nice patch. Try putting it over your eyes.
See something today.
Silly looking patch.
All right, talking.
Let's go. We got
I'm not talking, I'm hitting you.
Impressive.
It must be the patch.
That's the whole. It's like Samson with his hair. That's.
Way to rip. Okay.
You came alive? Well, he sure did.
Seems to be a slight mistake. Olson's hitting the ball.
One of those for myself.
Anything he wants to hit, he hits. I've never seen anything like it. It's incredible. Anything he wants to do, he does. I mean, how can somebody play that well that came from nowhere?
New York Knights powerhouse hitter Roy Hobbs, a shining example to his young fans. Though embarrassed by praise and shy of the press, Hobbs is always there for an autograph.
Well, I'm sure going to try real hard.
Hey, Roy, what's it take to be a big leaguer?
Well, you have to have a lot of little boy in you. So I think all you guys qualify pretty well. Oh, what's your name?
Andrew.
And with a few words of wisdom that, who knows, might alter the destiny of one of these fine young fans.
And just like that, Roy is the hottest hitter in baseball and one of the most popular players. And more importantly, the Knights go on a terrific win streak. By the way, during the national anthem portion of the last scene, the entire team ends up wearing lightning bolt patches in order to catch lightning in a bottle. During batting practice one day, one of the Knights hitters asks Roy to pitch to him just to see what he's got. Roy obliges and throws a lightning fastball by the hitter, just like he did to the Whammers 16 years earlier. However, after throwing the pitch, Roy feels a pain in his side, but he doesn't think much of it and walks back to the dugout. while the rest of the team is amazed that Roy can essentially do anything on the field to the utmost excellence. But this explains why Roy no longer pitches. After being shot by Harriet, this effectively ended his pitching career, but more on that later. In the stands when Roy threw the pitch was Max Mercy. This jars Max's memory of the Whammer, years prior. Back in the locker room, Pop informs Roy that the judge wants to see Roy.
We meet at late. What, it's a swell office?
Mere creature comforts.
Could use a little more light, though.
Where you from, Hobbs?
All around, really. What about you?
Please pardon the absence of light. You see, as a youngster, I was frightened of the dark, and I used to wake up sobbing in it as if it was water, and I was drowning in it. But as you will observe, I have so thoroughly disciplined myself against that fear that now I much prefer a dark room.
The only thing I know about the dark is you can't see in it.
A pure canard.
What's a canard?
A prevarication.
What does that mean?
A lie. You can see, you know.
Well, not good enough.
You see me, don't you?
Maybe I do, maybe I don't.
I asked you here because I wanted to pay you my compliments for your performance in the field.
It's been fun.
No, you've made a great contribution. Stands have been constantly filled. Financial fortunes have been radically reversed since you joined the organization.
I hadn't noticed.
You're not fascinated by the almighty dollar?
I never gave it much thought.
You're above such mundane thoughts, huh?
I didn't say that. Oh. No, I'm as interested in a buck as anybody else.
And I am not one to let good deeds go unrewarded. Would a new contract interest you?
Yeah.
For more money?
You want to pay me more money, that's up to you.
I don't detect any gratitude on your part, Mr. Hobbs. You know, I'm under no legal obligation to pay you 1 penny more.
Either way, I play to win.
A young man your age, you ought to be thinking about your future.
Well, let me put it to you this way. There's no way I can let you steal this club from Pop.
The fact is, Pop Fisher is a jinxed man, and not you and all the Roy Hobbs in the world are going to change that.
Well, it'll be a team effort.
You're a very impudent man, Mr. Hobbs. The interview is ended. Hi, you come back here and turn off that infernal light.
So what wasn't heard in the last clip was the information that Bump Bailey was on the take by the judge. And this explains why Bump's play on the field was so spotty. We also meet a bookie named Gus Sands, who's played by Darren McGavin. He's in cahoots with the judge in the scheme to take over the team from Pop. To make matters worse, Memo, Pop's niece, spends a lot of time with Gus. After leaving the judge's office, Roy runs into Max outside the stadium.
How'd it go up there, kiddo?
What are you doing here, Mercy? Why don't you stay home in bed and quit tailing me around?
You really are a riddle, aren't you? What are you trying to hide anyways?
I ain't hiding a thing.
Well, who says you are? You know, old Sam Simpson died before he could give me the lowdown on you, you know? But I want you to look at this. What you have in your hand there is a great story, but I want it all a Max Mercy exclusive. I wouldn't want the public to get the wrong idea about you. There are a lot of stories floating around about you. One says that you used to play for another major league team. One says you used to be an acrobat in the circus. There's even a crazy story that said you killed someone.
Let them believe what they want to believe.
My paper will guarantee you $5,000 cash for your story. It'll give your fans something to keep up their goodwill in you. Okay? Now, once you get to know me better, you're gonna like me.
Hi, kid. How you doing? How are you? Nice to see you. Now, we're gonna meet a guy named Gus Sands, all right?
Who's he?
Gotta be kidding. He's only a $10 million a year bookie. You never heard of him?
No.
Awfully nice guy, awfully. How do you like that? They don't have bands like that back in Nebraska, do they?
Not where I'm from, but they don't happen there either.
Gus, you know Roy Hobbs?
Oh, yeah, sure. I know all about Roy Hobbs. Everybody here know everybody? Sit down, sit down. Have a drink, Slugger?
No, thanks.
Strictly Wheaties, man, right?
Well, the eyes. Got to keep them clear.
Yeah. So how did it go today, Slugger?
Well, he did better than we did. He got, 5 out of 5 in the first and, 3 for 4 in the second.
Oh, what do you know? That's going to cost me a pretty penny.
Oh, how's that?
Well, I bet against you today.
You bet against the Knights?
No, just against you, kid.
Oh, I didn't know you could bet against just one player.
Oh, you can bet against anybody, anything. Strikes, balls, hits, runs, errors, anything. Take your pick. I once bet $100,000 on 3 pitched balls.
How'd you make out?
Didn't. But the next week, I ruined the guy with a different deal. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. I lost with you today, but some of the time, I'll clean up double.
How are you going to do that?
When you're not batting so good.
Well, how will you know when to bet on that?
The magic eye, it sees all.
Gus, well, why don't you show him how it works? Go on.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'll bet that I can tell, within $1 either way, how much money you've got in your pocket right now.
I'll take that chance.
For $1,000?
Better make it 100. You know the judge.
100 it is. You got $10.
What is it?
$8.
You lose.
And the silver?
The silver.
$37.
Never misses, right, sugar?
Just a lucky guy, Gus.
That's pretty good. I owe you 100.
Forget it. Someday you'll maybe do me a favor.
Don't bet on it. Excuse me. I think you overlooked these, Gus. Should we call it even? Would you like to dance?
What do you know about this guy, Max?
Not much. Not very much.
As we know from the Harriet incident, Roy's luck with women, it isn't great, and Memo seems like the second coming of Harriet in some ways. Roy starts seeing Memo, and suddenly that Hobbs magic disappears, and he starts going into a hitting slump, and the Knights start losing. As Pop puts it, Memo's just the jinx. The slump continues, and the Knights fall to second place. This leads to a road trip to Chicago, the same city that Iris now lives in. It should be noted for that road trip, Memo won't be around for Roy to go out with. Iris reads in the paper that the Knights will be in town, and she decides to take in the game at Wrigley Field. She wears a crisp white dress and a hat. After going hitless in his first 3 at-bats, he comes up in the top of the 9th as the go-ahead run. Roy looks at the stands instinctively, like there's some sort of presence there to guide him.
himself on track. He's 0 for 2 today. Stepping up right now against Toomey. Third base, 3 to 3. He's not happy. Here comes the pitch again. Swings and strikes. He just can't get himself set. He just hasn't had the concentration that he showed in the early part of the season. Present trying to get
I've seen some power before, but certainly Hobbs kind of deliver, and he breaks out.
Over here. Let's get him.
You ever hit one that far before?
Look at him. He's up in the stands, huh?
Hey, Hobbs, turn around. One more here.
That scene is another magical moment in a film that's filled with them. There's a glow from the sunlight that perfectly appears around Iris's hat, which again almost looks like a halo, a metaphor of the type of presence that Roy needs in his life now more than ever. Again, foreshadowing, the towering home run that shatters the scoreboard clock in center field will come into play later. The costume department found a hat that would perfectly ingest the sun so it achieves that halo effect they wanted. Glenn Close has said that she believes that shot in the film was the reason she earned an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. So in a 1946 game in Ebbets Field, in the second game of a doubleheader, Boston Braves hitter Bama Roll hit the scoreboard clock in center field, which actually shattered the glass clock. This is similar to what Roy does in the film when he breaks out of his slump at Wrigley Field. So Roy receives a note from Iris when he's in the locker room after the game. Roy meets Iris at a local soda shop where she often frequents. The first words Roy says to Iris when he sees her is, "Are you married?" She is not. They make small talk and say how they used to look for each other in crowds, but always to no avail. Iris does finally ask the elephant in the room, "What happened to you, Roy?" Roy pauses for a bit and replies that his life didn't turn out the way he expected. After that, Iris needs to leave and grabs a taxi. Roy pleads with Iris to come to the game the next day, and the taxi leaves without her giving an answer. Well, the next game, Roy hits 4 home runs in 4 at-bats. Looks like he's back, and yes, Iris was in attendance. After the game, Roy meets Iris outside the stadium. The two go on a long walk around Chicago, and in a montage which gives highlights of their talk, Roy explains what happened to him 16 years ago, and the subsequent years and why he never reached out to her. They end up back at Iris's apartment. We discover that Iris has a son and is a single mother, and she never sold her family farm in Nebraska. Iris says that her son's father lives in New York. Roy leaves for the next stop of the Knights' road trip and continues his hot hitting streak, and in turn, the Knights start to win again over the next month. Eventually, the team comes all the way back and is in first place. With 3 games left in the season, the Knights need to win 1 game to clinch the pennant. At a team party, Memo, under orders of Gus and the judge, gives Roy some poisoned food. Roy collapses later that night and ends up in the hospital with his stomach pumped. While performing the procedures, the doctors discovered a silver bullet that was lodged in his stomach, the same bullet shot by Harriet 16 years prior. The doctor informs Roy that if he tries to play before his wound is healed, it could prove to be fatal. The Knights end up losing 3 games in a row without Roy, which causes a 1-game playoff with the Pittsburgh Pirates to determine the winner of the pennant. Iris visits Roy at the hospital.
Hello. Sir Robert. Doc says I have to quit baseball.
Why?
Some mistakes I guess we never stop paying for. I didn't even know her.
The girl on the train. You liked her, didn't you?
Yes. But I didn't see it coming.
How could you possibly know she'd hurt you? I mean, how could anyone?
I didn't see it coming.
You think you should have?
Yes. But I didn't. Why didn't I?
You were so young.
Things sure turned out different.
In what way?
Different. For 16 years, I've lived with the idea that I could have been the best in the game.
You're so good now.
I could have been better. I could have broke every record in the book.
And then?
And then when I walked down the street, people would have looked and they would have said, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was in this game.
Now I believe we have two lives.
What do you mean?
The life we learn with, and the life we live with after that. With or without the records, they'll remember you. Think of all those young boys you've influenced. There's so many of them.
That day in Chicago, why did you stand up?
I didn't want to see you fail.
I wish Dad could. God, I love baseball. You gonna go to the game tomorrow?
Yep.
Is your son with you?
He is. Yeah. Excuse me. I gotta go.
Look, a great and very powerful scene. So, will Roy play? And even if he does, can he play well enough to even help the club? Plus, we discovered that the judge has another player on the take that could ruin the Knights' chances at victory. And then there's Max Mercy, who has plans on writing a story about Roy's past with Harriet. The Natural is a film of hope, redemption, regret, honor, and triumph. It's not just one of the greatest sports films ever made, but to me, one of the best films ever made in general. The acting is fabulous and the story is wonderful. Even if you're not a baseball fan, it's worth watching. But obviously, it will mean more to lifelong baseball enthusiasts. However, if you're a fan of beautifully shot films with amazing cinematography, you will absolutely adore The Natural. It's one of the best shot films in film history, seriously. And look, the ending scenes are absolutely timeless, with one of the greatest score compositions in the history of film. And if you think that the ending isn't brilliant, well, you haven't watched baseball. Specifically, one of the most famous moments in baseball history. Think about Game 1 of the 1988 World Series with the Los Angeles Dodgers and the left fielder Kirk Gibson pinch hitting in the bottom of the ninth. That was a real-life Roy Hobbs moment 4 years after the movie was released. The Natural is an American fairy tale that actually has reality mixed in. Now, I wonder what Ebert thought of The Natural in 1988 after that Kirk Gibson game, huh? Even shortly after the film was released, Chicago Cubs second baseman Ryne Sandberg had a Roy Hobbs type of game where he hit 2 home runs in a nationally televised Saturday game. His first home run tied the game in the ninth off one of the most dominating closers of the era, and that was Bruce Sutter of the St. Louis Cardinals. Sandberg's last home run tied the game in the 10th inning when they had gone down by 2 in the top of the inning. The Cubs later won the game in the 11th inning. Bob Costas, who was broadcasting the game, even said on the call after the second home run, "Forget about Roy Hobbs. There's the Natural right there," referring to Sandberg. At the end of the day, I think critics, they just want depressing endings, which is why movies aren't funded by critics. By the way, the success of The Natural led to a new era of wonderful baseball films that were successful, like Bull Durham, 8 Men Out, and Major League, all of which likely don't even get made if The Natural had flopped. It also cannot be understated the performance of Robert Redford in this film. He's very subtle with his acting and his portrayal of Roy Hobbs. Often, it just takes a look or a glance, which says more than some of the dialogue. Next time you watch the film, really hone in on him. You'll appreciate his acting talents even more. All right, some fun facts. The film was nominated for 4 Oscars, and, well, it lost all of them. Best Supporting Actress for Glenn Close lost to Peggy Ashcroft for A Passage to India. Best Cinematography lost to The Killing Fields. Best Art Direction lost to Amadeus. And Best Original Score lost to A Passage to India. Again, I'm going to channel my own Metal Mike. Fuck that movie! I would say baseball stadiums certainly aren't playing A Passage to India's theme song when someone hits a home run. I love that the young pitcher at the end of the film is like what Roy would have been if he had made the Cubs as a 19-year-old, that Nebraska farm boy and all. So it's said that the number 9 that Roy Hobbs chooses as his uniform number is inspired by arguably the greatest hitter of all time, Ted Williams, whose number was the same for the Boston Red Sox, and he was a left-handed hitter. Williams was often quoted as saying throughout his career he wanted to be recognized on the street as the best damn hitter that ever lived. This quote is essentially used by Roy Hobbs in the film a few different times. Because of the time crunch of getting the film finished and released by the agreed release date, Barry Levinson didn't have a chance to hire a real radio announcer for the game scenes. Therefore, that announcer you hear during the games is actually Levinson himself. One of the great things about The Natural, and frankly the mystery of the film, is why did Harriet shoot Roy or any of the athletes she allegedly shot? And the fact that it's never really answered is actually a great thing by the filmmakers because it's up to you to decide for yourself. Even President Ronald Reagan asked Phil Dusenberry about that scene in the film. And Dusenberry had been working with Reagan for a commercial at the time. Even Reagan wanted to know, well, why was she killing people? The quote by Roy Hobbs about what it takes to be a big leaguer, you have to have a lot of little boy in you, that was actually a quote by Brooklyn Dodgers catcher Roy Campanella. Robert Redford was a high school classmate of Los Angeles Dodgers and Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Don Drysdale. Now, I love this. In 2001, Bill Simmons of ESPN Magazine compiled Roy Hobbs' 1939 rookie season stats, taking cues from the movie, and tried to come up with what would his final totals have been. So his stat line would have looked something like this. Roy would have played 115 games. He would have had 400 at-bats, 92 runs, 140 hits, 44 home runs, 106 RBIs, a .350 batting average. He would have struck out 85 times and walked 75 times. Sounds like a Rookie of the Year winner to me. So the piano player at the party where Roy Hobbs became ill and had to be taken to the hospital is Randy Newman. And lastly, there is a director's cut that adds about 6 minutes to the original film. I once saw it about 15 years ago, and I didn't feel that it added much to the original film, so if anything, it took away at times from the flow of the original theatrical release. Now, normally we would have a guest for this, but there's so much information that, in the sound clips and whatnot, this is just going to be me. And hopefully it just tells you to go out and go watch some, great baseball movies, watch The Natural, really dig deep. And if you're a fan of baseball, I think you'll love this. So enjoy the baseball season that when I release this, it will be the 2026 baseball season. So enjoy whatever team you root for. And I'll be back next week to talk about yet another random movie from my DVD collection. If you enjoyed this podcast and are an iTunes user, please do the show a favor and head on over to the official iTunes page for Damn Good Movie Memories. Be sure to leave a rating and a review. This will allow the show to appear higher in the algorithm and spread the joy of this podcast to the masses. If you are not an iTunes user, you can still listen and subscribe on Podbean at damngoodmoviememories.podbean.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook under our Damn Good Movie Memories page. You can also listen to a limited number of episodes on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and be sure to tune in next week for an all-new episode of Damn Good Movie Memories.